Chosen one, listening is not the absence of speaking. It is the presence of hospitality. To listen without needing to fix is to build a room where truth can set down its luggage without being frisked for usefulness. Let your attention become furniture, sturdy, simple, placed for comfort rather than display. A chair that does not wobble is more healing than a chandelier that steals the view. Make your eyes the chair, make your posture the table. Make your breath the open window no one has to ask to be opened. Begin by retiring the hero who arrives with answers before questions have finished introducing themselves. Answers delivered too quickly turn intimacy into a quiz and confession into a performance. Instead, apprentice your curiosity to reverence. Ask what the moment needs, not what your ego wants to donate. Some hours require only presence, others request a small tool, clarifying language, a timeline that shrinks panic, a boundary stated at a humane volume. You will know which is which by how her shoulders respond. Shoulders do not fake, they tell you when you have helped and when you have hurried. Hold silence as a cup, not a cage. A caged silence punishes the speaker for taking up space. A cup silence blesses the speaker with more of it. Learn the difference. Keep your face gentle. Let your mouth rest when it longs to leap. When a sentence limps, do not carry it across the finish line. Walk beside it until it finds its form. When tears arrive, do not translate them into tasks. Let them be water doing water's work. Rivers cut canyons with time, not with lectures. Your sexual energy can listen too. Teach it to. Let heat take notes from humility. A listening heat is a hearth. It receives, warms, and gives back light without demanding a performance in exchange. In such warmth, disclosures appear that solutions could never purchase. She will offer you depth, not because you mind it, but because your quiet turned bedrock into a place where seeds believed they could split safely. Seeds do not need speeches, they need seasons. Be a season. When guidance is needed, offer it as a map, not a leash. Maps tell the truth about cliffs without despising the sea. They name safe passes without promising perfect weather. They align the traveler with direction while leaving choice intact. Speak like a cartographer. Draw paths with verbs that can carry weight. Choose, rest, ask, pause, protect, release. Avoid the adjectives that inflate you more than they serve her. If she takes a different road, bless the journey. Belief in her sovereignty is the bridge she will remember, even if she never walks back across it to tell you so. Let your body learn the choreography of containment. A steady knee beside hers communicates more safety than a thesis. Hands that remain open communicate more invitation than any eloquent promise. Shoulders that lower to the altitude of patience communicate more leadership than an agenda disguised as empathy. The body is a language. The nervous system reads faster than lips can move. Write your devotion there. Practice the small ethics of timing. Advice given 10 minutes too early is criticism in costume. Comfort given 10 minutes too late is denial wearing perfume. You are not responsible for perfect timing. You are responsible for practiced sensitivity. Watch for the breath that says the gate has opened. Listen for the word that asks to be mirrored. If you do speak, keep your sentences shaped like doors, hinged, capable of closing softly if they are not needed. Walk away from your own wisdom when it is not wanted. Wisdom that knows how to wait becomes welcome. Do not confuse fixing with faithfulness. Fixing centers your competence. Faithfulness centers her becoming. There will be moments when your hands know how to make the thing stop hurting. If the hour grants you that privilege, serve without ceremony, then step back so agency can return to its rightful owner. There will be other moments when the hurt must finish saying what it came to say. Sit long enough that you can hear the difference. Endurance is the profession of love when solution would be a seduction. Give compliments that do not steal the scene. Praise the courage that told the truth rather than the eloquence that decorated it. Admire the restraint that protected a boundary rather than the performance that impressed a crowd. Gratitude, when exact, becomes scaffolding. She can climb it later when the weather changes. Vague adoration is confetti. It clogs drains after the party. Keep an altar to repair near your listening. If you miss the cue, return to it. If you speak over a silence that was working, name it and give the silence back some interest. If your tone tightens, loosen it publicly so her body does not have to do the math alone. The humility of adjustment is more attractive than the illusion of perfection. It proves you care more about connection than about being right. Let play sit beside tears. Some pains need a warm hand. Some need a grin that loosens the knot without minimizing its existence. Learn to hear which is which and to change keys without making the song about you. Laughter at the right pitch restores dignity. It returns the moment to human scale. It gives the soul a window to climb through when the room has been too serious for too long. Finally, remember why the chosen ones are trusted in the first place. They do not turn listening into leverage. They do not intercept stories for status. They do not offer help to harvest loyalty. They listen to make more life, not more legend. When you do this, her body files the encounter under safety rather than spectacle. The next time you meet, she will bring more of herself without an audition. That unguarded arrival is the most beautiful thing a face can wear. If the room calls you attractive, nod gently and keep listening. You will know that what shines is not your reflection, but her freedom finding a place to look back. Chosen one, there is a sound your life makes before your mouth opens. It is not audible in the way thunder is audible, but bodies hear it just the same. It is the hum of coherence, the low frequency of a spirit that has made its private treaties and kept them. You can spot men who have not. Their sentences arrive with bright labels and empty jars. You do not trade in labels anymore. You trade in grain. When you enter, the shelves are stocked. Your promises are not slogans. They are inventory. She feels it as soon as she meets the doorway of your presence. Her shoulders consult your cadence and discover you were telling the truth long before you said a word. Promises want to be believed. Patterns cannot help but be seen. The difference is patience. A promise is a seed packet, a pattern is a harvest. Seeds excite, harvest feeds, your energy feeds. It says, without rhetoric, that your yes will be the same size tomorrow, that your no will not turn vindictive with time, that your maybe will not impersonate hope just to be adored for a night. You built this steadiness in the unphotographed hours, when no audience was there to take notes. You put edges on desires so they could serve rather than spill. You taught your appetites to report to purpose. You taught your temper to breathe before it chooses a word. You taught your charm to prefer usefulness over applause. None of this sparkles in a headline, and all of it shines in a room. Bodies can tell when the weight under the table is real wood. Your silence carries its own articulation. There is a quiet that withdraws and a quiet that welcomes. Yours is the second. She reads in the space you leave that you are not sharpening your reply while she speaks. You are widening the bowl so her meaning does not overflow and make a mess you'll later charge her for. The listening you practice is not a tactic, it is an oath. Oaths untangle alarms. Alarms, unhooked from their wiring, relax into bells, and bells call people home. Home has a temperature. You keep that temperature, not with charisma's sprint, but with stewardship's stride. Energy is grammar. The body parses it at speed. A gaze that returns ownership is a subject. A reach that asks permission is a verb. A boundary that arrives warm is punctuation. You place all three where they belong. Subject before adjectives, verbs before adverbs, full stops before goodbyes. Grammar turns feelings into sentences the soul can understand. Confusion drains. Clarity arrives without horns. There is sudden room to breathe. Breathing becomes color in her cheeks and steadiness in her voice. Others will say you made her beautiful. You did not. You made beauty possible by lowering the cost of being here. Promises, when you speak them, are beams, not banners. Banners wave for weather, beams bear weather. This is why you use fewer words than you know, and choose those words with carpenter's care. If you cannot carry what you are about to say, you do not put it in the house. You would rather be quietly reliable than loudly regretted. This abstinence from decoration gives your speech a gravity that does not need volume. Your voice lands like something that expects to be used and not merely admired. She feels safe placing weight upon it, and this safety reads as attraction in a culture starved for architecture. You understand that bodies trust conclusions more than claims, so you practice the ethics of after. After you laugh, the room is not smaller. After you touch, the air is not taxed. After you leave, the sink is not full of the dishes of your mood. After you say no, dignity is still standing. This after becomes your signature scent. It lingers in hallways, and the nervous system follows it like a bird following a current. The next time you step through a door, the body remembers and rises to meet you with gladness. It did not have to negotiate to justify. But it is not only your presence that speaks. Your absence is articulate too. Absence isn't a stunt for you. It is an apprenticeship. You step away to gather what you will later give, to let silence season your insights, to return with patience that is warm enough to share. When you come back, you do not arrive empty-handed and loud. You arrive with bread and a quiet that says you were not busy becoming myth. You were busy becoming useful. Bread convinces faster than poetry. She does not have to guess at your intentions. She can taste them. There is a kind of humility that lives in the wrists. It keeps hands open and ready, not clenched and ready. Hands like that do not announce themselves as safe. They behave safely until the word loses its novelty and becomes the atmosphere again. When your fingertips rest on the edge of a table while she speaks, they telegraph a message older than language. I will not turn your story into a performance of my power. She hears this without analysis. Trust is what happens to breath when hierarchies are no longer required to survive being close. Your energy will occasionally be misunderstood as restraint that lacks passion. You will be told by the impatient to become louder so they can believe you faster. You will smile and keep your covenant. You know heat under oath outlasts fireworks on demand. The feminine is not fooled by noise. She is thrilled by the discovery that aliveness can be held without being handled, that desire can be bright without being blinding, that a man can be strong enough to stay soft where softness is holy. This discovery renews itself each time because pattern is the only artist that can make repetition feel like revelation. The chosen ones are recognized in the way their lives keep a note. It is not the loudest, but it carries through walls. That note says more than any vow can say. I will be the same size when the room is dark, when the road is long, when the applause is busy elsewhere. In that steadiness, promises become almost unnecessary. Your energy has already kept them. Chosen one, sanctuary is not a building. It is a way of being that turns space into shelter. You are learning to be that way, not as architecture that traps, but as weather that blesses. Sanctuary is a field where the soul can arrive in its full volume without needing to purchase silence, where laughter does not have to apologize for sounding like bells, where grief does not have to apologize for sounding like rain. When she steps into your range, she senses a perimeter that is more invitation than perimeter. The edges are clean, the center is warm, the ceiling is high. She is not contained, she is received. Masculine essence becomes sanctuary when it stops trying to be a stage. Stages demand performance. Sanctuary allows presence. You do not ask the hour to entertain you, you ask how to make the hour breathable. Breathability is a design choice. It shows up in the way you make room for pauses that are not punished, in the way you honor thresholds so beginnings do not bruise, in the way you land endings without residue so tomorrow can begin without debt. None of this is glamorous, and every bit of it is holy. Holy means safe for sacred things. People are the most sacred things you will ever hold. Your essence is not the absence of need. It is the stewarding of need so that it never becomes a tax. You learn to feed yourself where you will not charge others, sleep that returns your gentleness to you, work that returns your usefulness to you, solitude that returns your listening to you, prayer that returns your motives to oath. When you bring these returns into a room, the price of participation drops. She does not have to subsidize your hunger just to be near you. Relief blooms where bargaining once grew. Relief is a quiet flower, but it perfumes everything. Sanctuary is built by boundaries that love people more than peace. Peace without boundaries is a garden without a fence. It invites deer and calls it destiny. You have stopped calling it destiny. You plant rails where the drop is dangerous, not to shame those who wander, but to save their ankles. You say no like a craftsman fits a door, so it shuts without slam and opens without squeal. You say yes with measurements, so what you promise will hold even when weather bends the frame. The structure does not make love smaller, it makes love survivable. Survivable love is what bodies mean by home. Let humor serve the sanctuary. Laughter is a kind of light that reaches the corners. Sincerity cannot always touch, but it must be the clean kind. Never sharpened into knives, never thrown to make yourself taller, never used to push tenderness back into its crate. You become bilingual, fluent in reverence and play. One keeps the sanctuary sacred, the other keeps it human. When both languages are spoken, dignity relaxes. Dignity relaxed is more radiant than any spotlight you could install. Your touch is a chapel. A chapel is not a stadium. It is a place where echoes are gentle. Handle nearness with the same vows you use for words. Nothing forced, nothing borrowed, nothing that would need amnesia to be enjoyed. Move at the speed of comprehension. Ask the hour what belongs in it. Let yes be bright and refusal be free. When touch lives in a sanctuary like this, the body learns that desire does not have to play dress-up as urgency to be honored. The nervous system files the memory under trust, and trust is the only perfume that does not sour with time. Design the commons so the sanctuary is not a special occasion. Commons are dishes, calendars, doorways, the way you turn a phone face down, because eyes deserve undivided altars. The way you close a day with gratitude that can be quoted and intention small enough to carry through the morning. The way you ask for the right to ask before you ask anything at all. The way you place a chair for the quiet one and a soft limit for the loud hour. Sanctuary grows in these repeated gestures until the walls hum with recognition. We have been safe here before and will be again. Sanctuary refuses to outsource safety to secrecy. Secrecy is anxious architecture. It squeaks. Privacy is patient architecture. It holds. You honor privacy so that revelations may ripen without rotting, so that intimacy may be episodic without being threatened. Not now is not the same as never. You protect what is being born from light too early and from darkness too long. Birthdays become honest. Anniversaries become real. Ordinary Tuesdays become survivable. In such steadiness, romance stops needing to sprint just to prove is alive. Let the seasons teach your sanctuary how to breathe. In spring, you welcome beginnings without demanding blueprints from seedlings. In summer, you host fruit without turning it into a parade that ignores the tree. In autumn, you name gifts and let them leave your hands without panic. In winter, you deepen roots, strengthen beams, insulate the windows against the kind of cold that uses ideas as wind. Each season requires a different kindness. You become literate in these kindnesses so that your field is not one weather all year. People do not burn out in climates that know how to change without losing their sky. Your sanctuary is also portable. It fits in the reach of your hand, the angle of your listening, the pace of your walking. It can bless across a room with a nod that returns permission, with a refusal to turn corridors into markets, with a smile that raises no invoice. When goodness can function at this distance, you stop needing to be central to be essential. The feminine does not have to stand in your light to feel illuminated. The best sanctuaries train people to carry their own warmth when they leave. You are building that kind. Repair is the cathedral work. There will be chips in the pews and creaks in the floor and a leak that appears where no plan predicted it. You do not dramatize these things, you fix them. You apologize at the altitude where dignity can breathe. You adjust the plan without declaring the sky a liar. Each repair adds trust. Trust is stained glass. It colors light but does not block it. When light passes through such panes, faces take on a beauty no mirror can explain. They will say you look holy, perhaps, but it is their relief writing itself onto your outline. And remember this secret that keeps the sanctuary from becoming a museum. Let more life happen in it than legend. Invite beginnings too small for biography. Welcome endings too simple for applause. Eat, laugh, cry, pray, rest, and work in the same square footage until the place is less about what you built and more about who you report your building to. The chosen ones keep their sanctuaries under oath to something taller than their appetite. That oath is the difference between shelter and trap, between warmth and heat, between glow and glare. In such a sanctuary, she does not disappear into your grandeur, nor do you disappear into her longing. Two sovereignties stand, two songs braid, two lights share a room, without trying to prove who is the sun. What the room calls attractive is only the visible trace of this harmony, the way stained glass tells a story of light passing through patience. Keep tending the windows, keep sweeping the aisles, keep oiling the hinges, keep lighting the lamps at dusk. Sanctuary is not a moment you create, it is a rhythm you keep. And because you keep it, she keeps finding her way back like a pilgrim who has finally learned the roads by heart. Chosen one, roots are not cement. They are living engines, drinking, listening, adapting, braiding themselves through soil that changes with weather. What breaks in wind is not strength but stubbornness. Rigidity snaps because it confuses memorized posture for embodied truth. Rootedness bends because it knows that life asks for shape and movement at once. The feminine feels emotionally safe around you, precisely because you have learned this difference. You hold your center the way a great tree holds the hillside, not by ordering the wind to stop, but by conversing with it until both of you learn a wiser angle. Let your convictions be alive enough to breathe. A conviction that cannot receive new information is only a costume for fear. Yours have learned to inhale experience and exhale humility. You keep a north that does not wander, yet you allow the road to curve. When plans change, your pulse does not become a metronome for panic. You check the horizon, you check consent, you adjust pace. In that adjustment, bodies loosen their armor. They do not have to choose between spontaneity and safety. Your presence proves they can travel together. She leans not because you refuse to move, but because you move without losing yourself. Make flexibility a discipline rather than a mood. Bridges do not trust luck. They install expansion joints so heat and cold can expand and contract without tearing steel. You install such joints in your hour. Margins that protect dignity when the unexpected arrives. Pauses that allow recalibration before someone gets labeled a problem. Rituals that keep tenderness from being collateral damage when logistics wobble. You carry the simple phrases that make change humane. Let's take 10. I'm listening. I can own that part. Shall we try again from here? They seem small until you notice how the room's temperature drops from fever to clarity. The small is where safety earns its reputation. Practice the art of repair before you need it. Apologies are not confessions of weakness. They are architecture. You do not write them to escape consequences. You build them to carry weight. You say I was wrong the way a mason lays stone, level, aligned, with mortar of specificity so the wall will hold. You offer amends that can be measured in feeling as well as in fact. Change timing, gentler tone, boundaries rehung at a height where dignity can breathe. When repair is reliable, closeness need not tiptoe. Fear retires because harm does not get tenure in your company. Teach your strength to flow. Aikido does not meet force with force. It escorts force home to itself. Your temperament has learned a similar kindness. When intensity spikes, you do not add more electricity to the grid. You become a transformer, stepping voltage down to a level where meaning can travel without burning the wires. She feels this as permission to keep her whole scale, soft and thunder both, because the system will not punish either. Your rootedness is not an edict against emotion. It is a promise that emotion will not drown the day. Hold boundaries that bend like a bow instead of locking like a gate. A bow stores energy and releases it with accuracy. Gates store fear and release it as control. When you say no, it arrives warm and comprehensible, sized to the moment and free of punishments, disguised as principles. When you say yes, it comes cut to the grain of your real capacity, then quietly exceeded by your devotion. This is the math of trust. It adds up even when the test is hard. She stops scanning for hidden fees and starts spending her attention on being present. Let your listening update your map. Even true maps expire. Rivers move, sandbars wander, cities grow. You revise without shame because accuracy is your loyalty. In conversation, you allow yesterday's certainty to yield to today's clarity. You do not treat new information as an insult to your identity. You absorb it like rain, useful, welcomed, occasionally inconvenient, ultimately generous. Minds that can revise become places where others can tell the truth without paying a toll. Tolls make people careful with themselves. Truth that travels toll-free becomes playful, and play is the best proof that safety has not turned to sterility. Make improvisation a form of reverence. Jazz does not erase structure. It honors it so fully that invention becomes possible. You carry the chord changes, the vows, the values, the pace, and then you listen for the note the moment requests. You do not rush the solo. You do not hoard the stage. You invite her melody. You answer with yours. You leave space where heaven might want to breathe. The song you make is not a performance to be remembered. It is a room to be inhabited. In that room, she discovers that freedom can be fluent and faithful at once. Train your body in the language of easy adjustments. A softened jaw tells the truth about your patience before your sentences do. An open palm returns ownership before your phrases can. A steady knee beside hers communicates steadiness more convincingly than a speech about reliability. The nervous system is a quick reader. It parses posture faster than it parses poetry. Keep your text legible at the level of bone and breath. The more legible you are, the less translation she must do to feel safe. Let your absences be as trustworthy as your presence. Absence used to inflate price is theater. Absence used to gather provisions is stewardship. You step away to cool your heat so it warms without scorching, to collect language that will make tomorrow easier, to listen where your name carries no weight. You return with tools, not tales. Tools lower friction. Friction burns trust. Your reappearance feels like weather that remembers crops, sun enough to ripen, shade enough to rest, rain enough to keep the field from bargaining with the sky. And hold a final paradox with ease. You are the anchor, and you are the tide. Anchors keep boats from drifting into harm. Tides carry them where the map hoped they would go. You anchor your motives to vows. You let your methods ride the water. That combination is why she keeps relaxing into your orbit. Rigidity demands admiration. Rootedness receives trust. Trust is quieter and stronger. It does not need a narrator. It just keeps returning like morning. Chosen one, touch is powerful, but attention is shelter. Before your hands are invited, your eyes are already building a place to sit. Many have been handled. Few have been held by a gaze that does not ask for a performance as admission. Give her that seat. Let your eyes be a room with soft light and honest air. A place where a face can unclench without losing sovereignty. When she looks up and meets you there, what dissolves is not her will. It is the fatigue of bracing. Your eyes report your treaties more faithfully than your speeches. If you have taught your desire to serve rather than to hunt, your pupils tell the tale. If you have trained your curiosity to bless rather than to consume, your focus stays open instead of narrowing into acquisition. If you have aligned your power with purpose, your gaze carries horizon instead of hunger. Bodies read this at the speed of weather. A calm front moves through. Breathing returns to its natural height. The nervous system files the moment under safe without needing a committee. Learn the ethics of looking. There is a gaze that becomes a net and a gaze that becomes a window. Nets catch, tally, and claim. Windows reveal, frame, and release. Choose window work. Let seeing be a form of permission, not collection. Attend as one who believes the sacred should be witnessed without being seized. When you must look away, do it as a benediction, not a dismissal. The closing of your eyes can be a blessing that says, "We were seen and it was good." Endings that land with that sentence teach the body to trust beginnings. Slow your eyes to the speed of meaning. Hurry turns the face into headlines. Patience lets features tell their whole story. Watch for breath. Breath is the narrative under the narrative. If it shortens, soften your own. If it lengthens, match it until the room learns to speak in sentences rather than alarms. Do not interrogate with eyebrows. Do not audition sympathy with exaggerated softness. Be legible. Legibility is kindness. It reduces the cost of translation. Every reduction of cost returns as color to the skin, as steadiness to the voice, as warmth to the gaze meeting yours again. Let wonder be visible. Not the wonder that turns a person into a trophy, but the wonder that honors uniqueness without annexation. A small, quiet awe in the eyes says, "I recognize the unrepeatable here, and I will not try to own it." Ownership makes people smaller even when the words are sweet. Recognition makes people truer, and truth is the most flattering light. Standing in it, she does not feel evaluated. She feels unveiled and still free. Your eyes should know how to carry privacy. Secrecy hides to control. Privacy shelters to ripen. Sometimes the most reverent looking is the choice to hold a boundary in your gaze. You can say "not yet" without saying a word, simply by keeping the flame of attention warm while the door of detail remains closed. This communicates a rare message. I do not need to see everything to stay. When that message lands, walls become windows by themselves. Openings happen without force because time has been honored. Train the way you receive beauty. The world has taught beauty that it must pay for attention with pieces of itself. Refuse that economy. Let your eyes practice gratitude without appetite, delight without demand, admiration without invoice. Gratitude says, "Thank you for letting me be here." Delight says, "What a joy that you are you." Admiration says, "May the good in you grow." None of these require possession. All of them build rest. Rest is why shoulders lower and laughter finds a deeper key. Remember that eyes speak at a distance. Across a room, you can return permission with a glance, steady a flight of nerves with a nod, widen the doorway of conversation by softening around your attention. Do not turn corridors into markets where validation is bartered. Keep the price of nearness low by letting goodness function without proximity. When care travels this far, hands do not need to hurry to prove they are kind. Kindness is already present, visible in the way the air behaves around your outline.